Hey, what's up? This is Kev from the Falafel House Fantasy Football Podcast, and you're listening to the BS Podcast Network. Enjoy the show.
In a world of ordinary fantasy football podcasts, ordinary guys rise up to bring you extraordinary analysis and entertainment. This is the Falafel House Fantasy Football Podcast with your hosts Kevin Cotillo, Sal Lito, and Stephen Marcus.
You say goodbye, and I say hello. Hello, hello. I don't know why you say goodbye, I say hello. Hello, hello. I don't know why you say goodbye, I say hello. I say I.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Today is, I don't even know what day it is, Steve.
February 15th.
It is February 15th. I know it's the day after Valentine's Day because everyone has to remember that.
That's right.
It is a Wednesday, I believe, but we have been off.
Not me.
We've been off. Yeah, you don't have to. Yeah, I forgot that. That's right. We'll get to you guys in a little bit. It is Wednesday, February 15th. This is the Falafel House Fantasy Football Podcast. I am your host, Kevin Cotillo, and Steve is with me as well. Steve Marcus. What's going on, Steve?
What up?
Welcome back. It's been a nice break from you. I can't lie.
Yeah, the feelings are mutual. I can tell
Excellent.
you this break was much deserved
Yeah.
for having to deal with you all season and not long enough.
That is true. Listen, before we introduce our, the third person on the podcast tonight, we have some bad news that we got to go over.
Yeah, this is very unfortunate.
It's actually really fortunate for me. I know you're upset, but I'm happy.
I'm happy about it.
And our guest here is pretty happy too. So, look, should I just go ahead and go with the news?
I mean, yeah, no need to beat around the bush.
All right, so for those of you who follow the show and who listen pretty regularly, obviously Sal Lito, a good friend of the podcast, been on the podcast since the beginning, he's decided to leave the podcast. So I guess that's
I don't know what.
Yeah.
I mean, as we all joke about, he's a little long in the tooth.
Yeah,
so
getting a
it's
little older.
little late to be starting new endeavors.
Yeah.
But, that is what he's decided to do.
Yeah, decided to do where we forced him to do it. I'm not sure exactly what I guess the bottom line is he's not on the podcast anymore. However you want to look at it. I shouldn't be joking. It really does suck. Yeah, we're gonna miss him. It was a good run we had, but not to get too much behind the scenes, but unfortunately he won't be with us going forward. So we're replacing him, and I think we got a great candidate, Steve.
Yeah, this is called addition by subtraction.
That's right. It's a huge upgrade on our part. Scott Fish is with us tonight, and hopefully will be with us going forward. He's gonna be the new member of the Falafel House Fantasy Football Podcast. What's up, Scott?
Hey, thanks for letting me join the podcast. It'll be pretty easy to fill Sal's shoes, and I'm not worried about that at all. I guess he'll still be in the falafel chat a little bit, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. He seemed pretty adamant when we talked about it that he wasn't going to be around as much. So
I'd actually banned him from the chat already, so hopefully he wasn't planning on coming back, because that won't be possible, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he was upset that his son was starting to be a better fantasy player than he was.
That's true. That is very true. And he's definitely my favorite, Sal Lito. So we've gone over that plenty of times. But so Scott, you got a lot going on, despite joining our cast here. So tell us a little bit about what you've been doing. Specifically, I want to know about the Commission Impossible. Did I say it right? Because I know that every time I hear you say it differently. So, but I want to hear about that podcast because from what I can tell, it's gotten some pretty good reviews. I think it's fantastic. So tell us a little bit about how you came to start that off.
Yeah, I put out a joke tweet about it, about doing a podcast, just me and Ryan McDowell, commissioner based podcast. It's just a complete joke in December, or maybe it was late November. And Ryan tweeted back real quickly, yeah, let's do it. And, Ryan and I talk, on Voxer practically daily. And we talk about commissioner stuff constantly. And we realized let's just actually put this out there. There will be people interested. Some commissioners, there are lots of people commission leagues. I mean, they'll be interested in this kind of stuff. And wow, the numbers have been amazing. The comments, the tweets, the emails. It's so fun to hear from so many people and to hear new and interesting ideas that people have for leagues. It's amazing to listen to. Other stuff I've been up to, we're going to record that tomorrow night, so there should be a new one out soon. Other stuff I've been up to, 27-day vacation is almost over. It's been
That's sad.
It's been fun. Yeah, I know. I'm gonna miss the free time. Got to get back.
Did you
to
make the
grind.
most of it? I know you just went and just got off of your social media break. You went on a cruise last week, so was the vacation worth it? Was it everything you thought it would be?
It was. It's nice to get away from the hot takes every once in a while.
Yeah, I'm surprised we didn't see any serious food takes while you're on vacation, though, because you would think that that's when they would come up. I mean,
Well, I was completely unplugged. My wife and I decided for that 3.5 days we didn't even have an internet for internet for the whole time. So
how many? What
the
was
food
the
was terrible. No, it was okay.
What was the number in the Twitter bubble when you turned it on? Do you know?
Twitter?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't even remember. I honestly don't remember. I remember in the Voxer chats, it was, there were several well into the hundreds.
Jeez.
That I just marked heard and I didn't listen.
That's good.
Yeah.
So and then obviously you got the Bull Rush podcast as well. I know that you guys are recording another one coming up soon. We're all big fans of that. So. What's going on with the Bull Rush finally coming back after the break, which you rudely told this podcast that you were canceling the show in order to mess with us.
In hindsight, like the next day, I felt bad about it. I realized that was probably not the right way to do that. to tell you we're leaving and then have it be a joke. But yeah, Frank and Ryan McDowell and I will be doing it tomorrow night. So that should have a new episode this week as well. It's going to be really good. We have no agenda set for it once again, so we'll see how that goes.
Usually the way the good ones go, I guess. So all right, so we're gonna get into some league stuff now because we're about to start this journey, and Steve and I are both kind of a little hesitant, I guess, on the journey because it's been crazy already.
Not hesitant. I'm just worried.
Yeah.
I'm excited because
I am too.
I spent a lot of time deciding we're talking about Capitalist Pigs 2, which starts possibly tomorrow if MFL is up by then. And I spent a lot of time trying to figure out the right people to put in this league so that they would mesh well together. And based on the conversations, it feels like most of them have hit pretty well.
Yeah, it's been a good group in the Voxer chat. I mean, the amount of messages alone is daunting to begin with, but the group itself seems to be pretty cohesive, and we haven't even drafted yet, which could be a good thing or a bad thing, I guess.
Yeah. Well, maybe to help some people out that are listening, they're like, are you going to talk about this league the entire time? Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
But this is the podcast where we do care about other people's leagues, right?
That is correct. That's the whole
part of the
model.
model.
Look at him. He even knows the tagline. I mean, he's already better than Sal. There's no question.
No, that's true.
I do my research.
Plus, he's another notch in the belt for Team Ghost Believer. So we can't forget that either.
Oh,
He's
geez,
another
you and the ghosts. Come on. I forgot all about that. Yes, Scott. Yeah, you are a ghost believer, so you check that box for Steve.
They exist, so yeah. Yep. Ghosts exist.
We'll get into that at the end of the pod if there's time.
Great.
But so let's talk about Capitalist Pigs and I'm going to ask you first about Capitalist Pigs 1.
Okay.
For one, because I really try to limit the amount of time that Steve talks. But for another, because I took over an orphan team in Capitalist Pigs 1 this year. And this is how I know Pigs 2 is going to be so crazy, is because with Pigs 1, I had four trade offers when I first signed into that league as the new owner. And then that first day, I think it maxed out at 15 offers in one day. So tell us a little bit about what trade, and we'll plug John Bosch's Fantasy Insanity podcast too, because you guys did a great job of going through that league on the one that was released today. So definitely check that out if you haven't yet. But give us a little background on how you came up with Pigs and how Pigs 1 went.
Well, Pigs 1, man, I think one of the best parts about Pigs 1, and a couple of guys said this on the Insanity podcast, is that no one had any clue how to play the league because of the crazy settings. and that makes it more fun for everybody because it throws everybody on the same page, whereas your basic MFL 10 or something, there's like people, high volume players and people who are doing hundreds, and you feel like, I don't know, you feel like some people have studied real hard for it and some people are just, picking as they go. Capitalist Pigs, there's no draft guide. You can't go in knowing what you're going to do. It's just a complete mess of utter chaos. How I came up with it, I'd always wanted a league where I hated when the end of the season would come around and I had, used my free agency money wisely, or if say in a rookie draft, if I only liked a couple prospects, I didn't want to use all of my auction dollars in that draft. I wanted to save it for another draft. And I finally last year decided, okay, I'm going to do this. I have cut my leagues down to 5 or 6 from 35. I have space in the portfolio to add a league. And I finally decided to create a league where you can keep your money and not spend it in a Devy auction, not spend it in a rookie auction. You can save it for 2 years down the line if you want. If you really love the 2019 class, you know what? Save your money and go for that class. Be real productive struggle there. Is
that Nathan's strategy?
Yeah, 2019? I think it is 2019.
Is that what he's going for?
A lot of people make fun of that strategy. I feel like the league did not work out well for him because of we gave a lot of in-season like capitalist pig buck awards. Like you could win $10 for this, $10 for that, $10 for that. And the league just got flooded with money. Otherwise, I think Nathan would be in a much better position.
Yeah.
But,
I was saying that to Steve actually off the air earlier because it seems like when I first got in there, and it seems like based on the way things, hearing you guys talk about it, so much capital was used up during the draft or the auction process that people thought they weren't going to have money. And it sounds like more, people made money throughout the year, and now it's not as much of a premium, so the dollar value is just so much less.
Yep, that is true. And one thing I do hope is that the upcoming rookie and free agent and Devy drafts will suck that money right back out. Like the prices will be ridiculously high. Like a guy like Dalvin Cook, I'm hoping, in Pigs 2, maybe Dalvin Cook would go for 180 or 150. I'm hoping in Pigs 1 he goes for like 350. Just to suck that money out of the league and get everyone back to square one.
I'm hoping so too, because I think the only chance I have of rebuilding my team is really going to be next year. So I'll either have to buy them all this year with the cash that I've built up, or it's next year where I'm hoping guys throw guys on auction, established veterans, and actually try to catch up that way. That's the interesting part too. So talk a little bit about that, and just for the basics, so people who are wondering about it, it's a 2018 league, 2 14-team divisions, and obviously the bankroll is the big key, right? I mean, it rolls over through everything. Your money is what it is. You don't
save it, spend it, trade it,
whatever you do. And the betting, you can bet your money, which is crazy. But yeah,
bet on hockey, bet on baseball, bet on the Oscars. You can bet money on anything. There's like a little mini casino against each other.
So tell us a little bit more about one thing that I wanted to ask you about too was the rivalries. You seem like you're into the rivalries. I new to the league. I'm not. I've actually never played in a rivalry league before. So
you're in for a treat.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about that and how that works in Pigs 1.
Okay. Well, in Pigs 1, the rivalries are a little different than my other leagues, but rivalries in general, you pick a rival at the start of the year, and when you play that team in Pigs 1, you have to either put up $10 of your pig's buck, or you can mutually agree on something higher, or a player. Like last year, someone lost Kenny Britt in a pig's bet in a rivalry game because they had to put, and someone else lost, Chris Thompson, I believe. But yeah, you either have to put up $10 or more, or a player, and the winner of that game gets that money, steals it right from under you. It's something taken from it's
great.
It's actually, it wasn't originally my idea to have rivalries. I mean, to have rivalries work that way, true, but there's another league I've heard of that's called Pink Slip League, where every week they do that. They steal a player from the other person's roster, which I think is crazy.
Yeah, one of the rules that I based on that I'm stealing a version of it for an auction a dynasty that we're starting up this year is, I'm calling it the asshole rule because it kind of reminds me of the old game. I don't know if you ever played the drinking game, the card game, asshole.
Yep.
But basically, the end of the season, I'm going to enforce a rule where the champion gets to steal a player from or force a trade with the last place team. So, which obviously there'll be guys that you designate are untradeable and things like that. So just to prevent some from stealing the top guys. But yeah, I think it should be interesting. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, that's a rich get richer kind of situation. It's fun that way.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so auctioning players off. That was the other thing I was going to ask you about. So,
that's
incredible.
We have I think Pigs 2 has 3 free agent auctions in the offseason starting next year. But what it is basically, if you have a player on your roster, let's say, for example, I have Kenny Britt, and I don't really care about having him anymore. You can, during the free agent auction, you can put him out there for someone else to win. The all 27 other teams will bid on him, and whatever he sells for, you get that money. So if I put Kenny Britt out there and he sells for $82 for some reason, I would get that money.
Sadly, that doesn't seem far off from right now. What's going on out there?
Yeah, it's kind of an open auction for players. It's kind of nice. It's a nice way to. I guess it's kind of uncool in a lot of leagues. It's like an unwritten rule to not, if someone offers you a trade, then you go, hey, league, this guy just offered me this trade. Do better, right? It's like an unwritten rule. In Pigs, that is not only completely allowed, it's almost encouraged. And the free agent auction is kind of an extension of that.
So Ty Miller, I've already seen this happen twice. I don't know if he's done this in the past year as well, but twice now has held private auctions apparently for his players. So just sends a message to the league and says, anyone interested in this player, I'm doing a private auction for anyone interested in you. So to me, that's crazy. It's just like an open bidding war.
This league, I really feel it's really like its own mini economy, and it's also a little bit like the Wild Wild West. Like it feels like there's almost a lawlessness to it at times. There are rules, but there's such freedom because of that rolling bankroll and the ability to table talk, the ability to tank, all those things lead to like almost a freedom in the league.
So having said that, now we'll start talking about Pigs 2 a little bit, because obviously I think some of the lawlessness caught up with you guys on Pigs 1. So you had to change some things for Pigs 2. So how did you decide to do, expand this craziness? For another, what kind of changes did you feel you had to make? And then thirdly, for me, I'm curious why you decided to let Steve in.
Why I decided to let Steve. Oh, well, I saw his prowess after his championship run in Falafel last year and realized we needed to get that guy in this league.
You realized the following year he almost got relegated, right? You're
yeah, but see, I not only saw him win the championship in Falafel, but I also saw what he brings to the table in clutch moments with his back to the wall.
That's right. That's absolutely right. The switch that we've made here, replacing Sal with Scott, paying off so well already. This is great.
Yeah, that's good. It's someone else to defend you. It's nice.
I need it. I need all the defense I can get, especially against you, man.
That's it. All right, so you decided to go with a pigs too, and it's a little bigger. So what happened there? How crazy are you gonna get?
I think it's gonna get pretty crazy. I think I don't even know why I did pigs too. I knew I wanted to do another one. I knew I wanted to change some things, and I knew that if I did a bigger one, I could allocate more money to charity, which is a big deal for me.
Sure.
And I wanted to see how 4 copies of players would do, because when you have 2 copies of players, as you saw with those, you said like 14 trade offers. The trade offers they roll, because in some leagues you'll find a guy that just won't let go. Like, he loves, like, I don't know, Mike Evans, and he won't let go of him. In Pigs 2, there's 4 copies of Mike Evans. Maybe one guy is going to hold on for dear life, but you have 3 other guys you can try to trade with. So trades are so much easier. And the rolling bankroll allows for trades easier too, just because if there's any like, I'm on the border, throw a few more extra bucks at it, maybe it tips it. So I thought it would be just a trade crazy league with this many people, and the betting would also go insane. So I guess
Which
I
it
just
has.
yeah. I think part of me did it out of sheer morbid mad scientist curiosity. I wanted to see what would happen with that many people.
So I could tell you this story, and hopefully the guys aren't listening, but in Pigs 1, so I completely agree with the 4 copies of players, and you can go try and get one from another guy if someone's holding on. In Pigs 1, I was trying to get Jimmy Garoppolo because I think he's probably one of my, the roster's a little bare. Trying to find
That's surprising. Surprising that you'd want Garoppolo.
Trying to find some cheap options. So I went out to the both guys that had him, and one guy wanted a crazy amount, the other guy was reasonable, and we made a deal, which is great. But it's interesting because I feel like with 4, for one, that could happen even more. But you could also kick yourself, because you could end up paying a high price for a guy and find out the other guy would have given him to you for cheaper.
Yep. And one thing that has happened at least 3 times that I can think of in Pigs 1 is that, okay, I made a trade. I traded Trevor Siemian, a first and a third, which turned out to be about $160, something like that, $175, and Trevor Siemian, for David Carr. And when I made that trade, the other person with David Carr and the other person with Trevor Siemian made the same exact trade within an hour.
So
and I think that happened.
And...
Yep, I think that happened 2 or 3 times last year, where someone saw a trade and they went to the other one and they're like, "Hey, that looks like a pretty good trade. You win?"
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I look forward to seeing a couple of those happen again.
All right.
So sorry, Kevin, I'm going to cut you off with the draft in general. This being an auction draft, this is actually going to be my very first auction draft that I've ever taken part in. So
you are in for it.
I'm just going straight into the deep end off the high dive. So I want to know, in something like this where there's this many people, how easily do you think the tempers are going to be flaring that once people start bidding towards the end of the 16-hour clock? Do people really start getting upset with that, or do you think it's all fun and games, or do you think it actually starts to eat at people when it keeps happening continuously?
So Scott, why don't you explain the process too for those guys like Steve who have never done it before, who might be listening?
Wow. Your first auction is a non-proxy with 56 teams and 4 copies of players. That is diving in. Wow.
This isn't normal?
Maybe it's the new normal. We'll see. It's everybody nominates a player on day 1, and then after that, it's everybody nominates every other day for 10 days, and then it's kind of a little more free. But it's just your basic non-proxy 16-hour time limit auction. Proxy is eBay style. Non-proxy means the price is visible at all times. Most people do not like non-proxy, and that's why I do it that way. To make everybody to make the hatred boil, to see that you're 5 minutes away from winning a guy, like you can see it right there, and someone else ups your bid by $1 lousy. it creates this joking anger at first, but after a while you see actual anger come out, and rivals are forged. It's a beautiful thing. In Pigs 1, people would set timers, and they would post the pictures of their timers saying, "I'm going to outbid you with 1 minute left."
Oh man, that's brutal. And so obviously there's no expiration, right? So that the auction just continues for as long as people continue to bid up.
Right. Yep. There's this will probably last a month. I would not be shocked if it lasts at least a month.
And so for those who don't know, too, obviously 56 teams, and 4 copies of players, the salary or the starting, bankroll that you get is $1,000 for the auction. So everyone goes in with $1,000, and like you said before, you can spend it or save it or do whatever you want throughout the draft. But at the end of the day, whatever you have carries forward. And then I think we get another 200. It is for the rookies, right?
Right.
So,
Yep. There will be people that spend every dime of that 1,000, and there'll be people that spend like 700 because they really want to make sure that they win Dalvin Cook and Corey Davis and stuff.
Yeah. $300 I got for Corey Davis in Pigs 1. $300 for a guy who's never played in the NFL.
Yep. Wow. Yep. Well, you got to realize Pigs 1 prices are inflated right now. But there's just
the economy in Pigs 1 just terrible. Just terrible.
It's a bad economy. That's true.
My initial goal in this auction draft is to piss Kev off as many times as possible without screwing myself in the process by getting stuck with some high bid players. So as long as I can do that, plan. I feel like it's going to be a win.
I like that. I like that plan. Pick out who you want to screw over it before it even starts. I like that.
That's right.
Good way to go. I'm just going to...
And now that Kevin knows that, he'll... bid up a player he doesn't want.
Absolutely. There's no question about it. You are getting all the worst players, Steve. There's just no question about that.
Well, that was going to happen anyway, right?
That is true. So Scott, tell me a little bit.
I come in for salad. I'll come at you and I'll prop you up.
There you go. Yeah.
You were too good at this.
That's right. He's filling in wonderfully. It's pretty good here. I think we made the right move, Steve. I really do.
Absolutely.
So tell me a little bit more about the auction as far as the players that are nominated, because obviously you said everyone nominates them from one day. Is there some strategy involved with who you're nominating? Because obviously we put together a list already, so I don't think there's any secrets as to who did what. But what's the strategy for you, Scott? And maybe Steve, you can talk about your strategy with who you put up too.
I think most people have the same strategy when they nominate nowadays. I feel like after you've done enough auctions, not like Steve, but people who've done at least one auction, start to nominate players that they know will sell for a lot, but they don't actually want themselves. So
get the cash out of the way.
Oh yeah. Yep. I put up Lamar Miller because if you listen to the Bull Rush, I've never been a fan of Lamar Miller.
Me either.
Yep. I don't like him. I think I called him Fantasy Zune. I feel like there's hype, but I'd rather have an iPod than Zune.
So using dated references too. So you really are Sal.
At least my dated references is from like the early 2000s.
That's true.
And not the honeymooners.
Yeah, that is true. He did bring up the honeymooners a lot. All right, so Steve, who did you nominate?
This will come as no surprise to anybody. My nomination was Sterling Shepard, and I didn't go, obviously, like Scott pointed out, this would be my first auction. That was not my thinking. My thinking was to maybe nominate someone a little more low-key, someone that might fly under the radar, that I might be able to bid on and get cheaper while other people are focused on getting those higher-priced, higher-volume players. Mm-hmm. And so, like I said to you, Kev, my first choice was going to be Devontae Parker, and he had already been nominated, so I went ahead and went with Sterling Shepard instead, hoping that I might be able to get him on the cheap early instead of while everyone else is going after those big-name players.
Yeah, so and I went the other way. I nominated a guy who I do love, but who I think will just eat up cash, and that's David Johnson. I just think that someone will pay some exorbitant price for him, And if not, maybe I'll maybe I'll get him. But I think he's going to go for a lot. So I kind of took your strategy there and Scott, and went with the throw a guy out there that's going to cost a lot. So
yeah, that's a good call. I always wonder, and maybe you guys have a theory on this because Pigs 1 was all over the board, but with a guy like David Johnson, what copy? Put your money on the line. What copy do you think will go for the most? First, second, third, or fourth?
So
that.
Go ahead, Steve.
We were talking about that, and it's Kev thought, he said that it was maybe it was the first copy that might go for the most amount, and I was on the side where I thought maybe you let the first one go and hope that maybe by the time the fourth one comes up, maybe some people have spent a little too much money and the price is kind of driven down because they're getting towards the end of their bankroll and maybe they're a little more hesitant on spending that bigger price. So I was on the side where I would probably be going after the fourth copy of a player with one of those big names as opposed to the first one.
See, and I actually did say the exact opposite because in my mind, I think you get to the fourth David Johnson that's up there. Someone who, there's still 53 teams without a David Johnson. So, in my mind, he could be, people are going to see that and say, well, I really did want him. I missed out on the other three. I'm going to throw some extra money at him. And I know it'll be later in the draft, in the auction, so there'll be less cash. But maybe that's, the guy who, like you said, Scott, maybe he only planned on spending $700, but at that, then David Johnson becomes available and he really pushes himself for it, or herself. There is a lady in the league.
I think with every player, it's going to be different. Kind of like Pigs 1. Sometimes the first one was more. Sometimes the second one was more. This one, though, I think it's probably going to be the second or the third. Probably the second. I think someone is going to, jump all over getting the first copy of David Johnson in this. And the fourth copy, I think that David Johnson will be one of those guys that gets nominated right now. He's gone in 3 days, gets nominated again real quick because he's going to suck cash and people. So I think he's going to be one of the first guys that get to that fourth nomination, and people, at least a few of 56 teams are going to have a good amount of money to fight over the last stud running back. So I'm going to go with the second copy, but
it's not bad. That makes sense.
All three of these theories make sense. It's just
we'll see how it plays out, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things I think is cool, obviously we'll get to the rookie auction later after the draft, but I do think it's pretty cool. There's obviously a Devy part to this, and we, our listeners, we don't tend to focus on Devy leagues at all. So, and you're kind of like the godfather of Devy. So you want to explain a little bit about your history with Devy and how and why you incorporated a portion of it into this league?
Well, I have a long-standing passion with Devy leagues. I started doing them in 1999. I love to say that one of my claim to fame was drafting Adrian Peterson as a senior in high school in a Devy league, which is true. I did.
I was a senior in high school in 1999, so.
So not quite, but close enough. So Devy leagues, you draft players that, it depending on your league, anywhere from a senior in high school to probably a junior in college, maybe even as far as redshirt junior, I guess. Usually it's not Anyway, drafting college players and saving them until they're in the pros and then putting them on your big squad. It's something I've been real passionate about getting out there in the industry for many years. I'm not as versed in it as I used to be. I don't spend the hours I used to studying high school and college tape that I used to, but I still love it. And this league was designed as kind of a starter Devy league. It's not very deep. It's only Pigs 2 is only going to be somewhere between 28 and 56 Devy players, which it's not a ton. It's deep enough, but it's not a ton. But the beauty part about Pigs 1 and Pigs 2 is that you don't have to. As you know, you can spend your money on anything. So you don't have to spend any money on the Devy auction at all if you don't want to. If you don't like Devy at all, skip it. Just save that money. But if you want to dip your toes in the water, there's a chance for you to do it.
Yeah, and I do like how you limit the number of Devi players. So no matter what, there's only going to be at most 2 copies of each player, right? So if you have a college player that you really like, but you don't really want to dip your toe into the Devi because you want to wait, he'll come out as a rookie in a rookie auction whenever year he comes out as a rookie. So you can still get that player later on.
Yeah. If you love Darius Geis or Nick Chubb or Cortland Sutton, if you absolutely love them, but you don't do Devi well, you don't like Devi, but you really want to get your hands on one of them, you can wait till the rookie draft next year, and there will be, in Pigs 2, there will be 2 copies in the rookie draft at least. So you can skip the Devi draft and you won't miss out on a player. That is a beautiful aspect of this league. I did such a good job designing it.
Yeah,
didn't I?
you really did. It's great. Oh man. So, Steve, you must have more questions because you're going into this completely blind, and we all expect you to fail. So now would be the time.
That's true. Hey, fair enough. Thank you, Kev, for that. I just wanted to ask a little bit about the scoring format. Scott, you said something about this on Twitter today, and some league that I've never been a part of is someone that gives points for first downs. And you said you're happy about giving points for first downs, and you're getting away from PPR. So what is it that you like about points for first downs as opposed to PPR? And just go a little bit into that, because like I said, I've never played in a league that awards points for first downs. Well,
first off, PPR, in my opinion, I was a guy that I was on the forefront of PPR. I played it for well over a decade. The site I used to run was PPR only. It was PPR centric. In fact, if you Google searched PPR whatever rankings, my site would be on the first page because we were one of the only sites that was just so totally into PPR. But I've got to the point where I realized that your Stephon Diggs or Julian Edelman 11 catch for 70-yard games are not good for fantasy. I don't like those existing. John Paulson wrote a great article about PPR versus points per first down and how the things PPR is supposed to do, it actually doesn't do that well anymore, at least. And points per first down is something that's real. It's a legitimate accomplishment on the field. I just prefer it a lot more. And I think one thing that's been brought up recently is how important it makes if you're watching a game and let's say your Patriots, Kevin, have the ball and you have Blunt and your opponent has Deion Lewis and maybe let's say you have Brady as well. If it's 3rd and 1, there's a good chance there's a point coming for one of those players.
Yeah.
You're going to sit on the edge of your seat on a 3rd and 1 and be like, oh, come on, be my guy for a full point.
And not just a 3rd and 1, a 3rd and 1 with 12 minutes left in the first quarter. You're
Yep. Any 3rd and 1 or what, every first down matters. And it's important in the NFL, and I just think it should be important in fantasy. For those listening, if they're considering points per first down, what we're doing is quarter point per first down for quarterbacks and a full point for rushing and receiving. And that scoring tends to favor the running back a little bit. If you're trying to, if you've never seen how it's scored, if you've never seen like where the points end up in that's a little bit of favoritism towards the running back points per first down.
So I think, one of the things that I'm sure we've talked about with you in the past when you've come on the show, and one of the things I'm sure most people know about you, though, is that you're always trying to even out the playing field for the positions.
Yep.
So it seems like this is a good way to continue to do that as well.
Yeah, it I'm sure some of your listeners know, but the ones that are new or the ones that don't know, I try to create as much draft chaos as possible because people love drafts. And if you, I have SFB, and SFB is similar to these, but in SFB what I did is I made it so that the scoring is so even that you can apply any strategy you want and be successful and be happy with it. So if you go quarterback heavy, it's super flex. If you go tight end heavy, it's tight end premium. If you go running back heavy, it's got, points per first down, and it's got a quarter point per carry. Whatever you decide, however you decide to draft, you can justify it. And when you can justify it, when you're happy with your draft, you're happy with your league. And it not only creates chaos, but it allows for you to be happy with your draft pretty much no matter what you do.
And I think one of the other things with the first downs, I mean, particularly when you're getting a full point for rushing and receiving, you're talking about running backs you're bringing back up the value of the running backs that are splitting duties now, right? Because with the PPR, you had running backs who could catch the ball starting to take on more value than the running backs who like Blunt, who are the 3rd and 1 guy, who are just getting that first down. And maybe getting less carries overall. So, the point per carry and the first down, I like that it brings back a little bit more value to the split running backs because now you can own both, and both will have value.
Right. And creating more flex players is never a bad thing. Creating more options, it just allows for more players to have trade value, and that creates more trades.
All right, so we've talked about the auction a little bit. We've talked about some of the scoring. We've talked about some of that. One thing I wanted to ask you: you've said multiple times, I think even tonight, there's no real preparing for this auction. There's
Nope.
really you can have your strategy's not going to matter and all of that. So, is there really nothing you are doing to prepare? I've seen in the Voxer chat that we have, there's some guys that have some spreadsheets and there's some stuff like that. What is it? What can Steve do to give himself a fighting chance? Is there anything?
I am anxious to see how those spreadsheet people go, because one thing that doesn't play out on spreadsheets is, there are people who do auctions and track how much other people are spending, the positions they're going for. But because the positions are evened out, you're not really sure what they're doing. And because you can save money, you're not even sure what that person's budget is.
Yeah.
Kevin's budget might be 800, Steven's might be 900, mine, I might be spending every dime. So, good luck with strategies in this. I was gonna say, oh, go for it.
No. I was gonna say, so for me, like one of the, obviously I think that's a great point, right? You can't have a strategy as far as what other teams are gonna do. So for me, I think when I started looking at this, and I'm a spreadsheet guy, so I did put something together, but it's just not a big one. But what I did was, I tried to set myself some positional limits and then set myself some player limits. So I have an anticipated budget that I want to stay within for each player. Now I know some of those are going to go crazy, obviously, but at the end of the day, for me, I'm trying to cap my players at a certain amount. Like and you've talked about this too. You're signing a percentage. You don't want to go over more than 20% on any one position. And I think it's a great strategy. I think that's going more than that is crazy. I'd go far less than that if I can. But yeah, I think capping the guys is kind of the only strategy that I'm trying to bring into this.
Yeah, it's. I would emphasize not bringing a strategy. Other than maybe budgets. Budgets are one thing. Like bringing in your own personal budget. That's one thing, but. Man, the logo has fire in it because we realized the Pigs won. It's trial by fire. It's really what it is. There's really you can't prepare for it. I just don't think you can prepare for it. Every auction is so fluid and every auction is so different that it's tough enough to prepare for any auction, let alone this thing that is just a ridiculous beast.
And like you said, everyone, with all the betting that's been going on so far, everyone's going into this draft with basically a different bankroll to start with.
Yeah.
So it's not everyone starting with the same amount. It's everyone's kind of starting with a different amount. And so, as someone who I love betting on sports, I talk about it a lot. And I've had to refrain because I want to make sure I have as much money as possible for this startup auction. And it's been really hard for me because you see all these people talk. They're betting on hockey. They're betting on stuff every single night. It's crazy.
We had Super Bowl squares.
Super Bowl squares. I mean, we had 2 square boards set up for that. And I only got in on one of them because I was so hesitant to lose those auction dollars because I just wanted to make sure I had the option. because I'm a little worried about going into this thing, and I want to make sure I have as much money as possible to beef my team up.
I'm glad that the auction's starting tomorrow, hopefully tomorrow, because if any of the guys in the in the league hear this, they're just gonna crush Steve. I think the whole goal will be to go after Steve because he's said he's worried several times now.
Not worried about it. It's all part of the ploy.
I've seen enough people in this league on Twitter say that they're worried or that they have no idea what they're doing, that I feel like Steve's in good company.
Yeah, I agree.
Hey, I've already done one of these, and I don't know what I'm doing. So
that's a good question.
And I know all the rules backwards and forwards pretty much, and I still don't feel like I have a grasp on this draft.
Do you think the people from Pigs 1 that are in Pigs 2 have an advantage?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I just do. We talked about this in the Pigs 1 auction room or Pigs 1 Voxer room before, as we were starting to set up Pigs 2, that it just feels like there's a slight advantage just because we know kind of how it goes. I don't think that it helps a lot, but I think there's a little bit of we understand what it's like auctioning with multiple copies. There was a definite spot in the draft where it seemed like almost all the values were to be had, and I'm not sure, you'll have to ask around the Pigs 1 guys if they'll let you know when that was, but I think a lot of us are sitting there going, I'm going to wait for that spot and see how it goes. And now that we all know that, that's not going to be a cheap spot in the draft because all the Pigs 1 people will be drafting at that point.
And hopefully all of us rookies will have already got some decent value in the earlier parts, or at least we'll have some good rosters.
Yeah, you might, because the Pigs 1 people will have been waiting for the soft spot, or what we perceive to be the soft spot. Yeah, you never know. It's going to be crazy.
All right, so tell us, Steve, any more questions on the Capitalist Pigs leagues?
Nope. I've got one more question that is nothing related to fantasy football whatsoever.
All right, so we'll get to that afterwards. I want to know what's next for SFB, Scott. Obviously, we had you on last year to talk about it, and now being a part of this show, we get to pick your brain a lot as they lead up to it. But right now, I'm just in the early stages. I'm curious, where are you at with it? I think last time we talked about it, you were actually considering expanding it again. So what's happening with SFB this year?
Yeah, it's. I think I am expanding it to 720.
720. Oh man.
There are between 2,500 and 3,000 people signed up.
Wow.
And I think last I checked there are over 600 analysts signed up, and most of the analysts you can name in the industry have talked to me about playing or are on the sign-up list, and it's gonna be unreal. It's just gonna be unreal, and I want to expand it just as well so I can get more fans in. Mm-hmm. Last year we had 120, and I had to turn away 1,800 fans. 1,800 non-analysts that wanted to play with these guys, and I felt guilty about that. So, I'm gonna expand it. The scoring is gonna be different again because they change it every year. It's probably going to incorporate points per first down. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the PPR though. I might take out PPR completely.
Wow.
I haven't decided yet, but that thing's going to be a beast. ScottFishbowl.com if you want to sign up and try to get in.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, the only other thing I wanted to ask you about, Scott, is, before we let you tout anything else that you want, is tell me a little bit about the not just fantasycares.net, which everyone should be going to on a regular basis to check out and donate and all of that. But you have started, I don't know if you started it or if you stole it from somewhere else, but
probably stole it.
The aspect of taking some of your league dues and throwing it towards a charity is phenomenal. I think it's a trend that everyone should start to adopt and incorporate into their leagues, because it really you really, when you do it, you don't notice it. You really don't notice it.
No.
And
No.
it certainly, even if it's, even if you're in a 12-team league and you only take, $10 out of the dues, most people won't notice it. That's $120 you can give to whatever charity you feel is right.
Exactly.
So tell me a little bit about that, how you started doing it, and why it's so important to you.
Well, I definitely didn't steal it from anyone, but I'm positive that there are tons of leagues out there that give money to charity, and I know that there are plenty of leagues out there that give money to charity, but it's not really something I stole. It's just something I'm very passionate about. I'm very passionate about giving to charity. Me and my wife both are, and mostly because we know how big a difference such a little amount makes. If we have a 4-year-old son, and giving him a toy, like, he just lights up. And that Toys for Tots is the one that I donate to most. We have a few that we do, but Toys for Tots is the one that Fantasy Cares donates the most to, donates everything to last year. And giving a toy to a kid that couldn't afford a toy or couldn't, just doesn't get new toys. If they get a new toy at Christmas, a $5 toy or a $10 toy, that they never get new toys. I see my spoiled kid with all his toys. He lights up at a new toy. I can't even imagine what it must be like for a little kid who normally doesn't get toys. And that's just a $5 toy. A Hot Wheel is $1. A Barbie is $1. I mean, there's so much you can do with so little. So taking one entry fee out of each league to give to whatever charity you want, it makes a difference. And I wish more leagues would do that, because there are hundreds of thousands of fantasy leagues, and you imagine one entry fee from 100,000 different leagues. That's a ton of difference that can be made. A lot of positivity that can be put out there.
Yeah, and like Kev said, you don't notice it when you're paying it. But you notice it when, on Twitter this year during Christmas, when you were going out and you were spending all that money that was donated to Fantasy Cares, and you over $5,000, and you bought all those toys. Then you notice it and you see that, you helped contribute to that, and it makes you feel good. And like you said, kids, they don't care how much the toy is. They don't care anything about that stuff. But watching a kid get a new toy, it's awesome. It's great stuff. So I definitely have been happy to help contribute to that in any way that we can, and it's definitely something that I want to push on to any leagues that I'm in going forward.
Yeah, and I can't think of a better way to donate to charity than by beating Steve in a best ball. It just can't. There literally is no better way to do it.
It's a win-win for you.
It is.
So that's good.
It is. All right, Steve,
So,
what's your
Scott,
question?
I wanted to ask you. Oh, go ahead, Scott.
I was going to say, how many times have you guys played head-to-head in Falafel, and who won?
Oh, that's a good question. I definitely did win this year. We've only played twice, I think, head-to-head.
Yep.
I think once each year. I know I won this year. I don't know who won the first year's matchup.
I'll just say I did.
Well, yeah, of course. Steve does have the trophy. I mean, he did win in the first year, so I do have to give him that kind of credit. But to go from first to technically worst, I mean, obviously worst got relegated, so they're no longer in the league. So I'm going to say he's technically first to worst. It's pretty embarrassing, if you ask me.
It's rough. It is rough. I'll tell you what. It sucks. I'm lucky that I have the trophy to hold my hat on right now. But every time you bring that up, it's what place do you come in this year? It still hurts a little bit. It still hurts. So that gets, yeah. Wasn't very happy about that. Mm-hmm. So we haven't played very often, but I hate him as much as we've played every single week.
Let me tell you a little story about a boy in his home league that went from first to worst, and then first and first. That'd be this guy right here. So,
right.
Steve, you consider Falafel your home league, right?
Yep, I would.
Yep.
I would.
Maybe you got the same trajectory ahead of you.
I'm set up pretty decently for next year in terms of the keepers that I've got right now. It'll still determine the draft order. That hasn't been set yet. So I could be looking at a first round pick here and some solid keepers. I got Kirk Cousins in 15th round. So hopefully I won't be drafting Russell Wilson again next year. That's for damn sure. That is for damn sure. So Scott, I wanted to ask you, one, did you in fact go and see John Wick 2 again today? And follow that by, where would you rank John Wick on the list of Keanu Reeves movies, as the fantasy Twitter right now seems to be going there's not a lot of football going on, so we see a lot of movie rankings and a lot of actor rankings. And I just wanted to know where John Wick or the John Wick, first and second, where those list on the rankings of the top 5 Keanu Reeves movies for you.
Oh boy. I loved John Wick and John Wick 2. I did not see it again today. I really thought about it, but I didn't. But Keanu Reeves, I had to pull this up. So we got Wick 1 and Wick 2. And you got the original Matrix, and I was old enough in, 98 when it came out, that was like game-changing for me at the time.
Yeah.
But he's had a lot of crap. You have to go back to Point Break. I love The Replacements.
I would say The Replacements is a good movie. No,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
Solid.
And I'm a Bill and Ted guy. I like Bill and Ted. So
Yeah.
so
For me, Bill and Ted's more nostalgia than anything else. I just remember it when I was a kid, and
I still watch it.
Really?
It is nostalgic.
I think
It
if I
is.
watched it now, I'd be a little. I mean, I'd probably still laugh, but I don't know that I would be as into it.
Gosh, I'm
Definitely not
looking
the
through
second
his
one.
movies here, and Speed.
Yeah,
oh,
don't
that's,
forget about Speed. Don't
Speed's
sell
good
Speed
too,
short.
yeah.
there's some movies on here that I'd say he has about like 8 good movies in his entire career. Just looking at the list. But Wick 1 and Wick 2 are probably right up there. Speed was amazing. Matrix did not hold up for me. I loved it then, but I think the Wick movies are probably going to be top 3, right up there with Speed. Replacements right under it, maybe.
Not a big Point Break guy?
Oh gosh, I forgot about Point Break, and it was like the first one I listed too. Oh, well, there's my top 5 anyway, right?
There you go.
There you go. There you go. All right,
Yeah.
Scott. We've definitely this is far too long for an off-season episode, but we appreciate you joining the cast.
Yes.
So it's gonna be great having you on going forward. We're really looking forward to it. Obviously, for those of you, hey, actually, you know what? You're a member of the cast now. You can plug yourself. Why don't you start us off with a final thought and tell people how to follow you?
How do I even plug myself? You mentioned all my leagues. You mentioned all my sites. You mentioned both of my podcasts.
That's
There's
true.
All
You
3
know
of my
what?
podcasts.
You know
now.
what? You're right. We'll let Steve start off with his finishing thought, because he usually plugs everyone. So go ahead, Steve.
Yes, thank you all for listening to this off-season edition of the Falafel House Fantasy Football Podcast. We forgot to mention, today is our actual 1-year anniversary of our very first Falafel House podcast release. So,
I'm kind of in love that I'm sorry. I'm kind of in love with the fact that Sal couldn't even make it 1 year.
That's right. We made sure to get rid of him before he got to hit that benchmark. So if you'd like to follow us on Twitter, you can do that at Falafel House. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram. Just search for Falafel House there. And, of course, falafelhouse.com. So, Scott, your very first of many final thoughts.
Well, I want to give a special shout out to John Wick 2 and Keanu Reeves. Everyone should go see it because it's amazing. I also want to give a special shout out to video stores that are still out there and still exist.
There aren't.
Go patronize them. They need your money now more than ever because they're going to make a comeback, I swear.
There is no way they're out there. Are they still out there?
I am going to one tomorrow morning. There's one about 20 miles from me, and I
Is it
go there
cassettes?
every couple.
Is it haunted?
Do you get cassettes there?
No, they're DVDs and Blu-rays, and my son and I go there once every couple weeks and rent movies because I used to run a video store, and that's where I worked when I started dating my wife. She also worked there, and so we still take my son. You guys are learning a lot about me right now, but
That's good.
yeah, go patronize a video store if you can still find one, and keep them in business because.
Send your pictures of you at the video store to @ScottFish24.
Please do. I would love that. I will retweet it for the 7 people who care what's going on my Twitter feed.
All right, it's definitely thank you all for listening. My final thought is actually going to go out to Sal while we do, joke around and we're happy to get rid of him and all that. But it is going to be sad to see him go. We definitely are going to miss him on the podcast. He'll still be around. I'm sure unless he's pissed off at us, he's falafel for life. So
To be honest, Kev, I always thought it would be you.
Yeah, I think everyone kind of thought that, but I'm just not going anywhere. You can't kick me out.
You can't bring down a.
Yeah, that's right. Definitely
trying.
remember to review us on iTunes. That would be great. And check out scottfishbowl.com if you want to enter that. Try to enter that. He's obviously got a long list going, so get on that list. And fantasycares.net. I'm not sure what you got going on fantasycares.net right now, Scott, but either way, check it out and make some donations because he'll get you in a league next year if possible. Actually, I think anyone makes donation gets in, right?
Yep, you make it. There's sign up forms on there right now, and yeah, you sign up, you make a donation, you'll get in one of my leagues, and you can win stuff.
And I'll tell you what, if you sign up and tweet me a picture of it, I will try to donate and join that league as well. So for
There you go, your very own chance to beat Kev.
That's right. For a limited number of dollars for entries, I will do it. But thanks everybody for listening, and until next time, Steve, hit the button.